Hey. So, today we're going to be doing Let It Shine.
Let it shine, let it shine.
There goes our copyright.
I think that's public domain.
No, that's definitely fair use. It's like Beethoven. It's so old.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, not as old as Beethoven, but you know what I mean.
Possibly older. Isn't Beethoven like...
You're right, yeah. Beethoven...
Post-slavery as a concept?
I feel like, yes. Anyways, that was an interesting aside. So...
Happy Black History Month, y'all.
Right? So, Beethoven is black. If you didn't know, that was recent. That was trending on Twitter like last year, and it is my favorite thing ever.
Look it up.
It's
a fun dive.
It's just like, Jesus is black, which is going to be related to this film.
Yes.
So, Let It Shine came out in 2012, set in Atlanta, about the black church and this young boy played by Tyler James Williams named Cyrus, who is a preacher's son and also the choir director. And he is also just in general like a really great music producer because he grew up around music and clearly and plays the piano very, very well. Mm-hmm. But his father is a preacher and therefore is not very happy with, his like of secular hip hop music. So he's not very happy about that. Cyrus has a few times where he tries to, amp up the choir songs.
The first number.
Yes.
The sort of opening of the film begins with a...
very Kirk Franklin-esque.
Yeah. That was the
song.
Immediate...
It starts out very slow and then the beat and stuff comes in and you're like, ooh.
Yeah, it drops and everybody... I think they also rip their robes off.
They do. It was very Sister Act too.
And they do a dance. You see Chloe and Hallie doing their youthful thing.
They're in this as the choir. They're choir members singing their hearts out.
Yeah, it's very cute. You come in full throttle.
You do.
Okay, I understand
this is a gospel movie.
What this film is about.
Yes.
It is about, gospel versus
hip hop,
old versus new, culture versus lowbrow.
A classic battle. A classic battle.
And it takes most of the plot though takes its cue from Cyrano, which is a fairly well-known play. Yeah. If you don't know the basic plot, is the sort of boy pretends to be something he's not to get a girl using his friend's talent, and it all unravels from there.
Yep, classic You've definitely probably seen movies that use it. People use it all the time, but this is just
it's very common. It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet in that way. It's very commonly referenced.
Yes. So you've definitely seen movies with it, but this is one that does it, but with hip-hop and rap versus gospel. So Cyrus, he's trying to make it in this world, and he works at the local, I guess you could call it a teen club / youth center.
I like to say the teen bop spot.
Yeah.
That's how I like to refer to it.
And I only say youth center because the whole point why the guy found it, because he says it, is he's I want to keep y'all off the streets and in in here making art and
give
whatever.
You a safe place to express and dance and
do whatever you do to make you happy. That's safe.
He hosts rap battles.
Yep.
But I guess.
But Cyrus is and Cyrus is one of those really shy kids, so he doesn't participate even though he's a low-key good rapper and a great producer.
See Cyrano, Cyrus.
Yes.
There you go.
So he never ends up participating in it. He just does his little busboy things and that's about it. People will step to him and he's just
he just sort of takes it.
Yeah, and he just walks away, and then it's just yo, man, I'm better than them. And then people are but you're not doing anything.
Yeah, his best friend and his boss are both but you gotta... you gotta build up your confidence, step out of your comfort zone.
Right, so he doesn't do that.
But he also doesn't do it because his father genuinely, completely disapproves, doesn't even know that he's working there after school.
Right, yeah. It's a secret thing he does.
Yeah. And even his mother keeps it from his dad.
Yes, his mom knows, but he never.
Shout out to Jaleesa, by the way.
Yes, from Different World, she plays his mom, and Courtney B. Vance plays his dad, who is Angela Bassett's husband, and just all around a great actor.
So that's fun.
But yes, so then the only thing that kind of kickstarts him into doing anything is that him and Chris see that one of their favorite artists, Roxy, is doing a songwriting contest, and so
who they happen to have gone to school with when they were younger.
Yes,
she's a young pop rap artist.
Yes.
Pop hip hop.
Right.
I don't think she's rap.
Yeah, I think she's like a pop hip hop type. And so they decide to enter, or Cyrus decides to enter as like under the pseudonym Truth.
I think they both enter.
They do, but we don't find out Chris enters till
later.
But yes, they both enter.
Cyrus enters under Truth.
And then he sends, and they're like, you have to send in a demo and a photo. So Cyrus is dumb because he decides to send in a photo of both himself and Chris.
With no indicator as to
who is who. So they approve it, and they're like, yeah, no, they love the song, and then they also see him, and she's like, ooh, he also fine.
Yeah, they assume that it's
Chris.
That it's Chris, who is played by Trevor Jackson.
Right.
Is played by Tyler James Williams.
So you can see all the grownish connections that were actually happening here, ironically, even though nobody knew what grownish was in 2012.
This is a deep... Pre-grownish. Yeah, this is a great, like, deep cast.
Yeah.
Like everybody in this cast is doing real stuff right now.
Right.
You know, it feels like a little baby Black Star breeding ground.
Yeah.
When you watch it again. So it's cute.
So then they enter the contest, and then Roxy comes down to Atlanta, and she and Cyrus actually end up hanging out and spending a lot of time together, even though she thinks that Chris is Truth the whole time.
And so they don't correct her.
They never correct her. So Cyrus just keeps on, like, happling along, just like, yeah, me and Roxy, but he never tells her that he's actually Truth. And there's also a lot of musical selections in the middle of all this, because it's a musical too.
But it's sort of beside the point. There's a lot that happens in this film.
Yeah.
It's not all necessary to understand.
Right. We're just giving you like the through line.
Yeah,
Yes.
The basic gist of it is that,
they're lying.
Yeah.
And they don't
Cyrus and Chris have to do a lot of
finagling to
not get caught.
To
pretend that, Chris is really Truth. And when Cyrus kind of has a perfect opportunity to tell her on this little, like, sightseeing outing that they go on together, he doesn't.
And meanwhile...
And in theory, she is also falling for Truth.
Right.
Because of
the lyrics.
The content of his music. Which means that she thinks she's falling for Chris, but she herself can't reconcile Chris's Chris's baby player personality.
Yes.
With the lyrics that are coming out, but she really likes Cyrus, but he's not true.
He's not true,
and he won't. Again, he doesn't have the confidence to sort of take
just
control. Of the
tell
situation.
her what it is. So they spend a couple of they go on a couple like dates, low key. They're not actually dates, but and they go out together. They even stop by a park one day, and there's like a rap battle going on with one of the rappers that Cyrus always gets into it with, but won't ever battle.
His name is Lord of the Bling. No, it's Revelation and someone else.
I thought it was a Phantom.
Yeah, and then Lord of the Bling and Revelation are supposed to battle later, but we never get to see it.
Yeah.
Which is a miss, in my opinion.
Yes. And then the next day, Cyrus is like, yo, you need to come back to church. Because she used to go to that church before she got famous. So she's like, of course. So she goes to church, and his father then proceeds to say that he doesn't agree with the hip-hopcracy.
After she performs for them.
Yes.
This is important.
She does. She performs as part of the choir.
Impromptu, unpaid.
At this church.
Just she's sort of prompted to by the congregation. They're like, we want
Roxy, sing for
us. And so she does. And then when she finishes singing, she's berated by the preacher,
right? Which is
for
his father.
Apparently, the exact quote is, "She is a what is it, Chelsea? You say it better than I do."
What, the hip-hopcracy?
Yeah,
the hip-hopcracy. That's literally what he calls it.
It's
where he's like, you'll be out there,
hypocrisy.
Being secular, but then come in here in the church and pretend you're not, basically, type of thing. So then she leaves the church running.
In tears.
Because, 50, 40-something-year-old man
just essentially, and he's essentially calling her, like...
a hoe.
Yeah. Literally. When there's nothing...
Nothing to suggest
that. Like, she might, all right, the fashion choices might be a little loud, but, the skirts aren't short.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
She's
it's
fully
not
covered.
Not that short skirts make you a hoe. I'm just saying, like, there isn't anything
that we would commonly think.
Yeah, that someone would associate with that. It's literally just,
hoe.
like, bright colors.
Like, she actually low-key dresses very modestly.
Very modestly. Like, a lot of, yeah.
It's just a lot of bright colors. But we'll get into the dress. But yes, so then that's when everything just starts falling down because her father, after his mom basically is like, you need to go apologize to that girl, his father goes over to the club where she's recording her video supposed to be with Truth, and then...
Played by Chris at this point.
Yes, played by Chris, but then he sees his son, Cyrus, busting the tables, and he's like, hold up now.
You're not supposed to be here.
Exactly.
So that becomes a whole situation.
Right, that they're trying to get out of.
And his dad essentially bans Cyrus from being allowed to sort of go back there.
Right.
And you get this whole, sort of sad montage of Cyrus being away from his passion.
Right. And he tries to show his dad his raps. But
while his dad refuses to engage.
Right, at all.
And then the next important bit is that he also ends up in a fight with his friend.
Yeah, Chris and him finally duke it out, and
because essentially Cyrus starts to fall for the girl too, and Chris doesn't really want to give up
being true.
The fame that's attracted, even though he knows he's living.
Because they already had that man's face plastered all over billboards all around Atlanta,
even though
we're like, he already has a #1 hit, but
it's been like 5 days.
It's literally Milli Vanilli of 2012. That was literally what this was.
But yeah, so they get into a whole fight.
And then they end up reconciling only because the Teen Youth Center director is like, don't let your friendship end over this.
Yeah. And then Cyrus's dad finally
comes around.
Yeah, he reads some of his raps and realizes that he has a very positive message.
Yeah, he's not just rapping about basic stuff.
Yeah, and so
they all go with him to they had a big mega fest or whatever, and that was a big rap battle. So then his parents come to the rap battle because he's like, oh, I'm gonna be performing blah blah blah, and that's when him and Chris formally reconcile because Chris was freaking out because he knew that he couldn't actually be Truth. So right before he's about to get on stage, he's puking and everything, and then they reconcile, and then he's like, well, what are we gonna do? And then Cyrus is like, I know what to do. So while Roxy is up on stage performing her part of the song, because they had shared the song together, Cyrus comes out instead of Chris, and he basically then raps in his lyrics that he had lied to her this entire time, but she needs to forgive him.
Yeah, and to the audience as well.
This is all happening.
Everyone is shocked.
Everybody is just
and it's on live television.
Right. So she's just she freaks out, runs away. And
she finishes the song.
Yeah, she's professional. So she finishes the song and then but doesn't speak to him and just runs away. And
I am very mad at how that preacher treats her. Because she's professional. I'm sorry, this is an aside, but
yes,
right,
she's literally a professional. So then there's the whole sad bit where he's like, I'm never gonna get my girl back, blah blah blah. And then they end up reconciling finally back at the church, and she comes and is like, oh, blah blah blah, I forgive you, all that, and
then they perform "Let It Shine."
Yes, the song "Let It Shine."
Yeah, reference to the title, and they throw a little hip hop flavor on it.
Right, Chloe and Halle are going off.
Baby Kirk Franklin version of "Let It Shine"
right.
at the end, and the preacher does not berate anybody.
And it's a happy, little happy ending.
Little happy ending.
So
yeah, that's
it's that's basically it.
It might be a little.
That's the abridged version. Yes, that's the abridged version. Well,
kind.
The somewhat abridged.
It's you get the gist.
You get the summary.
You understand what we saw.
You get the summary of it. So I guess to get a little bit more into the review portion of things. I feel like you were saying before, this is a really deep cast. In terms of who is in it. Also the fact that their last name is the DeBarge family, which if you know anything about 70s R&B, I just appreciate, just because I'm like, somebody was trying to play homage, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, it goes
very, very well done. But, I mean, it gets into a lot of deeper issues, and I know you specifically were speaking about, like, how hip-hop is always seen as, like, a lower art form, not solely just in, like, compared to Christian or religious music, but also just in general in the music world.
Hip hop has sort of always lived in this, and it's particularly interesting now because hip hop is the most popular music form.
It's literally
globally.
Pop at this point.
Yeah, at this point, it's not even. It's not that it's not hip hop. It is hip hop, but hip hop is the pop of the day.
Yeah.
But it's sort of weird. It's like even still, it kind of gets written off in that, it's not music sense.
Or it's a fad.
And I think that it's obviously rooted in class and race considerations. But, I do think that I'm surprised that it's a topic that Disney chose to sort of explore.
Yeah.
Not hip hop I'm sorry, y'all. Not hip hop of its own accord, but this hip hop versus gospel situation, or like does hip hop have a place in sort of the wholesome canon of black art? But I think that there's an interesting question there on the other side of like the religious factor of gospel. Like, does that have a place in the canon of like black art, as opposed to worship, or like where those things intermingle? And historically, the answer would be yes, a resounding yes. Obviously, religion and art have always been intertwined, at least as far as spirituality and art have always been intertwined, at least as far as we can tell. Like this in the story of mankind as a whole, anthropologically, they are very, very closely linked. So, it's an interesting topic for them to explore in this. And I think it is an interesting conversation, generally speaking, like amongst the black community. Yeah. Sort of in this period, and connected to larger things too. In this period of sort of great social upheaval. Where many status quos are being reconsidered and reconfigured to look different and to acknowledge fringes that have been ignored. For, most of, if not the West's history, America's history. Yeah. And especially the history of the African American. Yeah. This conversation of where our spirituality interacts with that. Right. Because the church is such a huge foundational part of America's black experience. And I would argue, like, across the globe, the whole diaspora, blackness as a whole, spirituality is deeply important to us as a people. Right. But in America, it is very much, hip-hop doesn't exist without gospel. Right. Yeah, most music forms. Arguably all of America's music doesn't exist without gospel. But
hip-hop especially.
But, hip-hop in the line of, literally in just the line of music, it is directly coming from traditions that came out of those that built gospel. Right. And those that happened, like, on plantations. Right. So that sort of divide and sort of, like, what responsibility do our churches have to be sort of mutable for younger generations, or just this opening up of social norms in our lives? Right. And we could talk about how, like, homosexuality is a big part of that too, or just, general fluid sexual and gender spectrums is a big part of that as well. Just is like making room for that. So yeah, that's my big sort of thought piece from this film. I'm not posing answers. I'm throwing out considerations.
Yeah, well, because I think it is interesting that they would choose to do on Disney, which doesn't really do religious stuff unless it's like around like a holiday. Like it's like the few religious specific DCOMs that they have are like Christmas films or like, which for most people is pretty secular at this point. And then like they have like one Hanukkah film, you know, which Full Court Miracle. But it's like they don't really focus too much on that in the DCOM. So it's like it's very interesting that this one is like a head on. Like this is essentially like gospel versus rap film. Like it very much feels like it should have been like if BET had a teen or a kids network, that this would have been on that versus a Disney. But it's good to see the diversity, of course. This also did air on BET, I would like to notice.
Fun little fact.
I would like to note. Like a month or so after it aired on Disney, it went to BET. But, you know, I think it is an important one to cover, though, because I feel like most black kids, I think regardless if you're African American, Caribbean, African, a lot of us grow up in the church. And then for a lot of people, there is like this tension between your parents and what your parents want you to listen to and what you want to listen to. And for a lot of kids,
how you want to express yourself.
Right. And for a lot of kids, you know, it does come down to, well, my parents won't let me listen to R&B or my parents won't let me listen to rap or they won't let me
read Harry Potter.
Right. Yeah. My parents won't let me read Harry Potter. Like I couldn't watch BET until I was like 14. Like, and it was just because like, they're like, you don't need to see these music videos or whatever.
I watched it anyway, but my mom was very upset about it.
Yeah.
She did not want me watching
right, and
it
it's because it's like you're just taught, like, it's like it's black art, but you're taught it's demonized black art. So I feel like it's a good subject for them to tackle, and I'm sure that it related to a lot of people when it came out, or they felt like it was, you know, relevant to their lives.
It is interesting. I do wonder, you know, and I guess this is a question, sort of, Chelsea, like, how do you think that the film sort of comes down on it, though, at the end of the day? Because I do think it's interesting that, and I think it happens with all of these types of films, where at the end of the day what ends up happening is this acknowledgement that, like, oh, there are sort of nuggets of gold in this art form. Right. There are these nuggets where, you know, you do have these rappers who are conscious.
Yes.
And that's the part that we can celebrate and that we can elevate.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you know, Cyrus wins that rap battle. Truth wins that rap battle because he points out, it's so 8 Mile. It's hilarious. This movie has
a lot of hip-hop film references.
Hip-hop film references. I'm pretty sure that, like, there's a song in there that sounds just like Dead and Gone by T.I. And I'm pretty sure that they have, like, that they sort of copy that song piece for piece because it's popular, but it's like the most popular song that they could get away with doing that for, where they won't have to answer to anyone, like, illegal to any estates that are like, excuse me, I recognize that beat, that's mine. But yeah, like, you know, Cyrus wins the rap battle by pointing out that Lord of the Bling, D.A. Bling.
The Bling. It is 2012, guys.
That he's out here, you know, fronting in his freestyles or fronting in his raps about how he's living this great life, but, oh, you just drive a taxi cab.
Yep.
And, you know, I think it's interesting that in these films, like, even though we're bringing the question to the forefront, at the end of the day, we still demonize. We demonize the braggadocio. We demonize, you know, the expression of lived experiences if the lived experience is not cookie cutter or something that fits into a normalized idea of good or
they're
responsible.
They're speaking about something that they feel like is
a bad relevant.
Yeah,
you know, a bad image for kids. Like,
yeah.
So I don't know, because I feel like in that sense the movie actually. And I mean, it's a DCOM. Like, let's be real. I'm not expecting it to break a mold here.
Yes.
But I do also think that it's interesting that it does that exact same thing that all of those other movies do, where they end up weirdly reinforcing that preconceived notion of good.
Right.
Into the art form.
Right.
Like, that's how they redeem it, is by doing that.
Because Cyrus's stuff is only good because he writes about positive messages and doesn't really have any swear. Like, he doesn't curse. He doesn't.
It's not about fashion. Even the whole thing with Chris is that, like, Chris, you know, he wants to, like, he's not looking at Roxy like she's the love of his life. It's like, he actually wants, you know, he likes the attention from girls and all of that. But it's like, he's a 15-year-old boy. That makes sense.
Yeah, he's not trying to be tied down.
Period. Like, there are many 15-year-olds. It's not a gender thing at all. It's just, you're 15, your hormones are going crazy. Like, there are many 15-year-olds who are like, yeah, man, I'm trying to, like, not necessarily I'm trying to smash, because, like, that's not necessarily it. No. But, you know, they're trying to explore, you know.
Go on some dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Just, you know, the interaction between them and someone they're attracted to. Like, that's the space that they're in.
Right.
And, it, like, is it okay? Like, should we demonize that? Like, should we be telling kids that...
That Chris is in the wrong.
Yeah, Chris is in the wrong for, you know...
Because he wasn't a one-woman man. At 15.
At 15. It's like, well, no one's a one person anything at 15. Like, you don't even know who you are at 15 yet. You have a pretty good idea, but you're still completely being formed.
Right,
Nothing's
you're
set
still
in
figuring
stone.
yourself out.
And, like, should we allow people the space to figure it out? Should we especially allow black people the space to figure it out? Mm-hmm. And should we not, like, you know, Kim Kardashian the Kardashians built an empire off of vanity.
Right.
But hip-hop is still demonized for its vanity when it's like, but it's the same thing.
Right. People have to publicly demonize it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, everybody knows that inside, like,
you know...
Most of us are vain. Like, that's just literally what it is. Most of us would be Chris, not Cyrus.
Exactly.
Like, at the end of the day.
And is that, you know, that something that we should continually sort of say is... Because, personally, I sort of come down at where it's like, I have my thoughts on this, you know. I give my little sister flack all the time for being all up on the gram, like, like, you know, like I was, you know, just to mess with her, I'll be like that when he's like, oh, God, Ailey, you're so vain. All you care about is, you know, how you look in this picture, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, I actually think that it's very beautiful that, like, we live in a time where black people are celebrating their beauty, celebrating any wealth that they have amassed, you know, where they have the ability to amass wealth, where we can buy Teslas, you know? Like, I think that is a beautiful thing, and I think that it doesn't have to come, like, we don't have to celebrate one at the expense of the other. You know?
Yeah. No, it's like, I think
we can celebrate.
You can be in the middle.
Yeah, you
like,
know.
It doesn't have to be the two extremes, but I feel like that's a typical DCOM thing, and I think it's also because, like, again, like we're saying, this is Disney, it's an original movie, it's not even a theatrical movie.
It's not even, like, this is like, budget, that's why all these kids look crazy.
Right.
Like, the clothes are too loud, and apparently they chose, like, a pink, not pink, but like a indigo, purple, pastel. I don't know how those three things mash up, but they do, and that's like the palette they chose for the film, and so everybody looks crazy.
It's not the costume director.
Some people need a slap.
Yeah,
just bring the colors down a little bit. I need muted tones.
Yeah,
but
yeah, no, I feel like that's a typical DCOM thing to do. Is like, it's like there's a hard good and then there's a hard bad. Like, there's no in the middle, and it's like, no, most people are in the middle. Like, you just are, because there's just no way you're an all perfectly good, perfect person. Nobody's perfect. And then 90% of people are not wholly evil. So
10% is a lot of people in the world. It's like close to 8 billion of us now, right? Or maybe like 7.5 billion. Right? That's a lot.
It is,
but a solid couple million.
You know, that costume designer for one. they might be in that holy evil category. No, I'm kidding.
I did not say it.
I'm kidding. They're not. But, you know, it's like most people are not wholly evil. It's like most people are, like, in the middle. But it's like, I do understand for a children's programming, for children's TV, that you need to, like, have these two poles. But I do think that there is a lot more that you could mine in the middle, because that's more true to life. But yes, those costumes are... it was very much 2012.
It was.
Nicki Minaj
Yeah.
was big. Like, Pink Friday had come out, I think, like, a year or two prior. And you just see her all, like, especially in Roxy's stuff.
It's
like,
everywhere.
The pink hair.
It's Nicki
the
Minaj,
tutus.
for sure.
The, like, neon. Like, it was... Yeah, I was
and
like,
there's nothing.
oh,
Listen,
wow.
I love a bright color. It's just it's so
They didn't match up.
it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop.
And it was like every single time
kind
she
of
popped
too
up, I was like,
much.
oh god, what is happening to my eyes? Like, it was just so much. I mean, the girl that played her, Coco Jones, is gorgeous.
Yeah. It's
But
a great cast.
It was
also.
literally
It's
just
a
the
great
it
cast.
was
We
literally
have
just
to
like the costumes are
reiterate that.
so loud. But I
They're
also think
so
that's a
loud.
typical Disney thing. For some
And it's
reason.
also weird that they do this thing in the film where they kind of keep referring to her as if she's supposed to be this like video vixen situation.
Yeah.
When there is absolutely, like, we kind of say this in talking about how she's so modestly dressed, but like
there's nothing to suggest.
there's
that.
not like none of her it's it's like it's just pop rap, but it's not, or pop pop hip hop, pop R&B, whatever you want to call that. A lot of
That
auto
mix.
tune.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's nothing in it that's particularly, like, it's not worship, and it's literally just secular. It's literally just secular and popular, but it's not, like, nobody's twerking.
No.
Like, nobody, anything that you would let, people might associate with a certain, like, type of person. And this is not necessarily the view of Chelsea or I, but, that short skirt narrative that's thrown out there, like, that, it doesn't physically exist on the screen.
It doesn't.
But it's written into the script that way, which is really weird. So there's, that's an interesting little, I don't know.
Aside. Yeah, it is very weird how it's like they keep talking about her, like when the father, the preacher, calls her out, he was basically like talking about like her clothes and just like the
And
stuff
how
that she was dancing.
yeah.
And it was like, but she's not
But
doing
she's not doing that. I don't see it. I don't believe you, sir.
Like, honestly, she's more akin to, like, who JoJo Siwa is than anybody else. Like, that's literally, like, if you had been like, what was the black JoJo Siwa like in 2012? That was Roxy. Like, she's not giving you anything bad. Like, quote-unquote bad.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. I mean, that even might be an interesting lens to look at this through, the idea of, like, sort of the sexualization of children, but in like the false sexualization of children,
especially black girls.
Yeah, how it's coming completely from like that black girl isn't doing anything
literally
at all.
She's in church.
She's literally
in church.
Like isn't doing anything at all, but still just because it's a black girl who's in control, in control, like in control of herself. Self-assured, at least projecting that idea of
confident, pretty, talented.
So she's somehow a Jezebel. It's like, but that's not. That's literally not the case. So it's sort of that adult sexualized gaze onto the landscape of children.
Yes, and it gave me
they
very
aren't
much
seeing themselves
when adults call little black girls fast. When they're like 10, and it's like a 10-year-old, like it's literally impossible for a 10-year-old to be fast. I'm like, are you talking about her creepy uncle who is over there projecting that he wants to kiss her or something? Like I was like, he's being a creep. That's called a pedophile.
Not the
however, Miss Princess over here, who is 10 years old and just running around in shorts, is not being anywhere near fast or anything.
Or who's 10 and is like,
Don't sexualize.
It's not that she's being fast. Like she looks up to. She's 10, so she's starting to like become. She's getting into her like pubescent phase, which is when you're becoming an adult. Mm-hmm. So in the same way that when you're 5, you're playing dress up, and the clothes are just too big for you. Like she's 10, she's playing dress up. The clothes fit a little bit better now.
Right.
She's taller. Like it's not.
It has a little bit more heft.
It's not. Probably has a little bit more baby fat on her. It's just like it's not. It's not through the lens of that child. It's not
right. It's like you're putting all of society stuff on.
That's not to say
child.
that kids aren't sexual beings to a certain extent, but like not in that way at all.
No.
You know?
Not Miss 10. No, that 10-year-old does not. She's wearing shorts because she's hot.
Yeah,
like,
like
it's like there's no.
She thinks boys are cute, but she doesn't. That's literally it. It's not anything beyond that. And it's usually like I've rediscovered this because, you know, I've recently re-engaged with Smart Guy, which I loved as a kid. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like I remember being like 7, 8 and like loving TJ. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't actually sexual. Yeah, like, it's just like I think he's cute. Right. And like I have a crush on him. Right. It's like that. It's just that. Right. Nothing beyond that.
Yeah. No, and people project a lot onto little black girls and then just automatically sexualize them at such a young age.
So that's definitely.
But that's very prominent in this because you just get very confused when you watch it and you're like, wait, why are we like?
And it's something that we should. That's something I can come down pretty hard on and just be like, we got to stop doing that.
Yes,
you know?
Stop calling your 10 and 12, 13-year-old
Black History Month 2021
cousins, sisters, daughters, fast, please. Yeah. I beg you.
In this third decade of the 21st century, yes. I'm gonna officially say everybody needs to stop sexualizing black girls. Yes. Black children on the whole, but and children on the whole.
Yes,
but
please stop sexualizing
little black girls.
Really get it.
Really get it, and yeah, it's just, you know, I do think we are better than that. Like, you know,
we are much better than that.
As a species, like, I think we are genuinely better
evolve,
than that.
Please, guys, let's evolve.
So, if nothing else, I would love for 2021 to be the year of, you know,
letting kids just
letting children be children.
Let them wear what they want to wear. It's fine. Nobody is too grown.
And prosecuting the people that try to say they are. You know what I mean? Because those are the ones that we gotta...
Let's start challenging that a little bit.
We gotta push back.
That's gonna be our Let It Shine homework.
It's true. Let her little light shine. That's all she's trying to do.
Yes.
That's all she's trying to do. Let them be.
Look how far Roxy got super far because she was a confident little young black girl that was super talented.
She's even wearing yellow at the end of this, isn't she?
She is wearing yellow.
See? This is a deep metaphor.
It is.
It's an allegory. All the way through.
It's very deep.
Yeah. So I think that's most of our take. It's a fun film. I guess I'll pose it this week. Chelsea, would you let your children watch this?
Would I let them shine? Yes. Yes, I would.
Shine?
Yes. No. I definitely, I definitely would let my kids watch this. I think it's, aside from the loud costuming, I think it's...
Yeah, but you buy their clothes, so, like... you know what I mean? Like, they can't get it if you don't give it to them.
I would totally let my kids watch this, yes. I think it's actually, like, I was very happy to see a darker-skinned black girl as the main... Well, Cyrus is technically the main character, but she's, like...
But they're all dark. They're all...
But black. She's darker. Like, she's darker than Tyler James Williams. You know? Like, she's, like, deeper skin. Like, she's not somebody that I would be, like, she's not light-skinned at all, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to mistake her for that. But I think I was so happy to see that, because I don't think that there's been a lot of Disney films that have, like, a deeper skin.
Technically Princess and the Frog. I love that film. It gets so much flack. But I do too.
No, I like it too. But I mean, especially like DCOMs, there's not that many.
Yeah.
And I want to even say, even on their show side, they haven't really had like a darker skinned lead that I can think of. Maybe recently. I might be wrong, and maybe like in the past, like, 5-6 years.
Casey Undercover, the little sister is dark. The robot. We could talk about that another time.
Yeah, but it's just good to see. I think like a dark skinned girl as a
Farm.
That's China Anne McClain though. Yeah. She's not that dark.
She's not light though.
No, but I mean like, but Coco Jones is dark.
I do. All right.
Yeah. I'm saying like dark skin, like you dark skin.
Yeah, and I agree with you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, and this isn't. I'm not trying to make some like weird colorist brand or anything, but I think it is important to be like dark skinned. Like, unmistakably dark-skinned girls also should have leads in this kind of stuff, because she was great. She's talented. It was good seeing her as, like, a famous person and seen as, like, an object of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was great, too. And then I also just think, you know, Cyrus and Chris, it's a decent lesson for your kids to learn, to be like, you just need to be yourself.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what it came down to.
Let it
you
shine,
need to be
man.
yourself. Yeah, let it shine.
It's a very appropriate title. I agree. I think that it's something that I would love if, when my kids are watching this, it's not something that we have to talk about, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Or even beyond that, you know, it's something where, you know, my kid comes up to me and is like, Mom, people used to hate hip-hop. You know what I mean? Or,
right.
you know, people used to think that hip-hop was...
bad, quote unquote.
You know,
yeah.
You know, devil music. Like, you know, in the same way that... Because, you know, I feel like I kind of remember... engaging, because my dad really loves music. I feel like I remember engaging with my dad, like when I learned those things about like jazz and rock. Like I engaged with my dad about that.
Yeah.
When I was young. So it's in a weird way where it's like I would love for that to be the conversation.
Yeah.
That me and my kid have to have about like
right.
this film, or that is inspired by this film.
Right.
As opposed to. Like, I would really, really love if when my kid is watching this, I'm not excited for them to watch it because they're going to get to see a dark-skinned girl be a prominent role on the screen, be the lead female actress on the screen, be, like, you know, a fully self-realized person
yeah.
who is famous, who does have adoration, who does have beauty, but is also not using her body outside, you know, her voice, yes,
right.
but it's because of, in theory, talent, not because of what she looks like.
Right.
That she has that, you know? Like, I would love if that is something that is so normal for my kid, that this is not, that if anything, my kid is like, well, I mean, the movie's fine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if anything, my kid gets to evaluate it as just a film.
Right.
With no engagement with sort of the larger cultural implications of it. I think that is, you know, that's my dream of a world for, in theory, I guess, you know, at least 10 years from now when my kid would be watching this, if I had a kid, like, today. Probably a bit more than that. I don't know if we're going to get there. I would like to think that us sitting here now, watching these things and thinking about them in that light, you know, thinking about our own careers and what we want to put out in the world, what type of art we want to make in the world, that will be able to influence us getting there as a species, as a culture, to that place where my kid just sees it as a movie. But yeah, I think we're, like, if we don't get to that place, it's a movie that I'd, you know, let them watch. And if they don't necessarily take anything from it, I'm fine with that. If they do want to talk about it, I'd be fine with that too. I think it's one of those where it really is. It's not it's not a great. It's not like a DCOM where I'm like, this is a great DCOM, and I'm gonna make Little Shorty watch this. Like, they don't got a choice. But it's, you know, there's nothing about it that I would deeply shy my kid away from. Be like, I don't know if you have to watch that. You know. Yeah, and I think that it's as a black film, as a black DCOM, because it is a very black DCOM. Let's not mistake that.
It is. There's
like one white character, and it's Janine from Blackish, who shows up in many black things. I'm not 100% sure why. But, you know, it's a black kids film, and, you know, yeah, I'm gonna have black kids, so. Yeah, you know, watch it. Enjoy yourself.
Right.
Representation.
See little dance moves.
Yeah.
Little dance
Please don't put on those outfits if you don't have to. But if you really want to, you know what? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Express yourself. Like, I want my kid to, that's the big lesson I would want my kid to take away from this, is like, express yourself.
Yep.
And you should be allowed to express yourself.
However you want to.
And figure yourself out. Like, that is something that children of other races get. And that is 110% something that I want you to have.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's a good thing for us to note that Nina and I said if we were younger, we were both in college by this point, we definitely would have loved this film.
Would have been a banger.
Like, if this had come out, 6 years prior...
Yeah. Would have ate this joint up.
Would have loved it.
Yeah, I'd have been all about it. I'd have been... I could see myself, during recess with my homies, I do the rap bit,
right?
Because I've always loved the rap. I'm the one who raps Jay-Z's part in "Crazy in Love." I'm that guy. But I have many a friend who does, who
does the sings part.
The rest of "Crazy in Love" by Beyonce. So I could easily see me and two friends doing a little Lord of the Bling, Truth, Roxy situation,
right?
During recess, and it would be glorious.
Yes.
So. Yeah, I would not be surprised if people a couple of years younger than us are this is one of my favorite Disney Channel movies.
Yeah, I could totally see it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Get it.
And I think you're right in that.
Yeah.
You're right to love it that way.
Completely justified if you grew up with this film and you were that's what got me into Nicki Minaj or something. I'd be you know what? Sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I decided to go into fashion. Who knows?
Right.
I'm totally here for that.
I could see the reach being, very wide.
Yeah. And if that happened with my kid, where they stumbled upon it when they were 8, and then fell into it, I would be yeah,
that tracks.
That makes a lot of sense, and I'm okay with that.
Yes, that tracks.
That's totally fine.
All right, well, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, we're gonna do the big one, Color Friendship, coming up.
Yep.
So
get ready.
All right, and we're out.